Well, hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to LifeWave Connect. It's great to be with you here today. My name is Emily Hollingshead, and I am the Vice President of North American Field Development and Relations. And I'm so glad that we get to be here together on LifeWave Connect and to come together as our LifeWave family every other Wednesday. Now, just for those of you that are brand new, LifeWave Connect is a webinar that we hold every other Wednesday, like I said, at 11 a.m. Pacific and 6 p.m. Pacific. During our morning session, we provide translation services for our supported European languages. And in our evening session, we provide translation in Spanish, Japanese, and Chinese. We broadcast here on LifeWave Connect in English, and we live stream this English presentation to our Business Builder group on Facebook. If you're looking for that immediate replay, it can be found on our Business Builder Facebook page for your immediate use. And we post all of the versions of this LifeWave Connect in all associated languages on our YouTube channel, LifeWave Health, within the next week. So you can look for it there if you're looking for the replay. We're really excited to be here today, and we're really looking forward to really talking about some great things. Now, today, we're going to have one of our special guests, David Schmidt, with us. It's going to be great. He's our CEO and our founder, inventor of LifeWave technology, and we're always blessed when he's able to join us and share his amazing understanding of the human body and help us understand the benefits of health, wellness, and especially our LifeWave products. So today, we'll be talking about one of our patches that I know many of you love to use with X39 in order to boost our immune system function. And that's the glutathione patch. This patch activates the production of glutathione in the body. And glutathione, as many of you know, is an antioxidant that helps our bodies to balance free radicals and to stay healthy. It works at the cellular level to prevent inflammation and other cell damage that can make us sick. So today, like I said, we'll be chatting with David Schmidt, the inventor of LifeWave patches, about glutathione, the antioxidant, and how we can increase our levels within our body through various strategies. But what is the most impactful way that we can use our phototherapy patches to do this? So through the conversation today, we're hoping that you will start to understand and see through hearing David speak just the depth of knowledge that he has for the body and biology. Through his education and many years of study and research, he has absolutely become an expert on how our bodies work and how to maximize our ability to improve overall health and the function of our bodies by harnessing that body's natural ability to really take care of itself. So with his focus and passion for improving lives and reversing aging, he continues to astound me and all of us with his discoveries and his guidance on how we can best live our lives. So David, welcome to the call.
Hey, Emily, great to see you.
Hey, it's great to see you too. Thanks for joining the call today.
Absolutely, and very much looking forward to this conversation today and sharing a number of research studies with our members and how they can improve their lives and protect their health with the body's master antioxidant glutathione. So very much looking forward to discussing this with you.
Me too. You know, this is a product that I absolutely love amongst all of our other products, and I know it's very popular with our members. So I think it's going to be really great. Do you mind if we just sort of dive into some questions?
Let's dive right in.
Okay, great. So I know that everyone is really focused on ensuring that our bodies, have the strongest immune systems possible. So let's kind of start at the beginning and help everyone know what glutathione is and why this phytonutrient is important in our body. Can you help us understand that a bit, please?
Sure. Well, when we talk about immune function, there's really two sides of the coin. And only one side gets covered, really, and that would be the role of antioxidants. And this is a bit of a mistake because we need to look at the whole picture in balance. And what that means is that oxidative stress, which doesn't sound like a good thing, is actually an important part of immune function. So we normally think of oxidative stress as a bad thing, And this was always the traditional model, is that as we age, levels of inflammatory markers and oxidative stress goes up. So that means those are bad. And levels of antioxidants like glutathione go down, and those are good. And so therefore, we want to increase glutathione and reduce oxidative stress. In general, that's true, but it's far too limiting of a picture. Meaning, let's take a very practical example. So let's say that someone has a virus in their body, and what the human body will do is release immune cells as part of the first level of response. So let's say the emergency responders go to work, and they are going to be releasing oxidative chemicals. So hydroxyl ion, hydrogen peroxide, ozone, the superoxide radical. They'll release these oxygen radicals, which destroy the virus on contact. Now, if someone has impaired immune function, what that really means is that their ability to induce oxidative stress in the virus is diminished. And because a virus is not going to have an antioxidant system to protect itself, it is going to be destroyed by the body's immune system. So this is a very simplistic view. Now, those oxidative chemicals will hang around. So now the body's antioxidant system, like glutathione and superoxide dismutase, SOD, will prevent the oxidative radicals from damaging healthy tissue. But this is just all to say that we need to balance out our immune function with antioxidants to protect our cells from being overstressed. So that's first thing, to give everybody a complete picture. Now, the other thing that's generally true is that as we age, for most people, their mitochondrial function, the area of their cell that produces energy, that declines with age. And as a result, then things like the ability of the body to make glutathione will normally decline with age. And we'll share some studies today that show that glutathione is linked to not only how long you live, but your health span as well, how long you stay healthy. So, and with glutathione, it's particularly interesting because it's ubiquitous. It's found nearly everywhere in the body. You would find it as the antioxidant that's protecting your hearing, your sense of smell, protects cognitive function, obviously immune function. It's found in very high concentrations in the liver, so it supports detoxification. So I may have went off the rails a little bit there based on your question, but I wanted to start out giving people a perspective that immune function is more than simply saying we need to elevate antioxidants. We need to have everything balanced, but antioxidants is certainly a very important part of immunity.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that perspective, because I think a lot of times we don't fully understand what really makes our immune system strong and helps us to do a lot of those things that you just talked about with the balancing, right? But I guess I have another question that kind of spins off of what you just talked about and kind of looking for a little bit more clarity. So, why is this particular antioxidant, glutathione, so important for our overall well-being? I know you touched on this a little, but can you dive more into why our health and immune function are so closely linked to the levels of glutathione, and why is this considered the master antioxidant? I've heard people say that before, so maybe you can shed some light on this.
Yeah, sure thing. Glutathione is interesting. First of all, it's made of 3 amino acids. So it's made of glycine, cysteine, and glutamic acid. And cysteine would be considered the rate-limiting amino acid in the body. So in other words, we're heavily dependent on our diet to get in cysteine. So people that consume milk and dairy products, people that consume eggs are getting plenty of cysteine in their diet. And as a matter of fact, traditionally, just through diet, those would be some ways of elevating glutathione, is whey protein and eggs. glycine, which is also a component of copper peptide with our X39 patch, is found in a diet that's rich in protein, and the body makes plenty of glutamic acid. So we really want to make sure that we get enough cysteine in the diet. But the interesting thing about this is that these 3 amino acids are held together electronically, meaning they're held together by electrons. And so as a result, glutathione has the interesting ability to be able to share its electrons with other antioxidants like vitamin C. So let's say that, again, let's use a practical example. Let's say that someone had an injured knee and they went to the orthopedic surgeon, and the orthopedic surgeon said, I'm sorry, you need a double knee replacement, and there's nothing we can do, right? Sometimes people find themselves in this situation. Well, this is a good time to say, I'm not a medical doctor, I'm an inventor, and so I'm not going to give any medical advice here, but this is what the research shows, is that vitamin C will act as a trigger to regenerate lost cartilage under the right circumstances, and glutathione is involved in that process. So in other words, if you look through journals for orthopedic surgeons and you look at what is on the cutting edge, it's going to be the use of stem cells to regrow cartilage to obviate the need for knee surgery and knee replacement. And also you'll find, going back to the late 2000s, research on the use of glutathione in regenerating lost cartilage. So in other words, bringing this back home, if someone was interested in attempting to regenerate cartilage, as long as that's okay with their doctor, what they'd want to do is elevate their glutathione. They would want to take a a vitamin C supplement, let's say 1,000 milligrams several times per day. And then they would need a source of protein, and the preferred protein for cartilage regeneration would be collagen. And what we found through practical experience is that this does indeed regenerate cartilage. So this is all to underscore the importance of glutathione, because what happens is, as the body uses up its vitamin C, glutathione can break apart, share its electrons, and regenerate the oxidized vitamin C back into active vitamin C. So this is one of the reasons why glutathione is called the master antioxidant, its ability to regenerate other antioxidants and make them active again. Another reason is because glutathione is found throughout the body, as we've already discussed. The metabolic functions of glutathione are extraordinarily broad. I'll share screen for a moment. I found a nice link here that I think our members would like, that will summarize some of the benefits of glutathione. So this is at coremedscience.com, although there are many other sources if you want to just Google glutathione benefits. But this is a nice one because this is a nice link because it talks about some of the things that reduce a person's glutathione levels. So, for example, when people are under any type of physical stress, emotional stress, they're exposed to radiation. So people that are traveling a lot, like me, and you're on a plane, you get exposed to radiation. So you want to keep your glutathione and carnosine levels up. Some medications are going to deplete glutathione levels. That's worth knowing. We wouldn't make any medical claims about this, but there are viral infections that reduce glutathione levels, or they respond very well to glutathione supplements. So I'll be very clear, we've never done a clinical study using our glutathione patch to treat a viral infection. And if someone was interested in that, I'd tell them to take a N-acetylcysteine supplement, which elevates glutathione and is clinically shown to treat a number of interesting viral infections. But yeah, here it gets into a number of the more well-known benefits of glutathione and the that would be worth someone taking the time to look at it.
Wow. I always love how you share these great articles with us that can really help us to understand in more depth and do more research on our own to really dive into some of the things that we talk about here. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Oh, yeah.
So knowing that having the higher levels of glutathione in our bodies, as you've shared with us, is pretty vital to maintaining the health in our immune system. What should we be consuming? I mean, you talked about using collagen or whey and some of those things. What are some supplements or foods that we should be consuming that will help us to have some of the raw materials that we need in our bodies to really support that and allow our bodies to produce more glutathione?
Yeah, so the first thing I would recommend is that everybody take a cysteine supplement, and specifically the N-acetylcysteine form. Obviously, the past 2 years or so, I don't keep track anymore of the pandemic. People have been crazy about what's going on with COVID, no matter what side of the fence that you sit on with this. And, but fortunately in the literature, there were references a year and a half ago that N-acetyl supplementation was therapeutic in the treatment of COVID-19 and could reduce the occurrence of severe symptoms. So when we look at what can people do to protect themselves from COVID, there are really basic, inexpensive nutritional supplements. Vitamin D is, one of the most obvious, 5,000 IUs per day, or is recommended by a doctor. Iodine supplements, I strongly recommend, but 90% of the population, over 90% of the population here in the US is deficient in iodine, and but they should get their blood levels checked by their doctor in terms of how much they should take. Some people might need a few hundred micrograms. Other people might want to go for a supplement like Idorol, which is 12.5 milligrams. It's otherwise known as Lugol solution. And then glutathione, not our patch, but NAC. NAC is shown will elevate glutathione and can help protect people from the severe symptoms of COVID. But having a diet that's rich in cysteine, which is difficult, by the way, for vegans and vegetarians, because it's mostly found in meat and dairy and eggs. So they would want to supplement with something like N-acetylcysteine. And then the other thing is the mineral selenomethionine, or selenium. Now, there's many different forms of selenium. So, for example, a lot of people in the natural health industry, they'll take a supplement of brewer's yeast. And brewer's yeast has naturally occurring selenium. And it's also been used to help reduce blood sugar levels because it's a source of chromium, something called GTF chromium. But in particular, there's research going back more than 15 years that shows that selenomethionine will quickly elevate blood levels of selenium, and this will catalyze the formation of glutathione from cysteine. So selenomethionine as a mineral is going to be a preferred way to elevate glutathione. The other benefits of taking a selenium supplement, so let's say 200 micrograms per day, as an example, is that for men, it has been shown to kill prostate cancer cells. So it's a way for men to protect themselves from prostate cancer. And also literature going back to the 70s. I first read this in the book Life Extension by Dirk Pearson and Sandy Shaw. They were recommending up to 800 micrograms a day of selenium as a way to kill things like thyroid cancer, amongst other things. Selenium is found naturally in things like oysters. Most people aren't going to have oysters regularly. But it is found in Brazil nuts. So Brazil nuts are a really great source of selenium, zinc, and other minerals. But if someone wanted to have a therapeutic dose, to elevate glutathione. Maybe we're talking around 50 micrograms a day. It's not a lot. And of course, in conjunction with our patch and a cysteine supplement. And if they wanted to use it as a way to help protect them from cancer, then they should speak with their doctor. But 200 micrograms to as high as 800 micrograms would be in that range.
Well, that is a really good overview of the things that we should be taking. So cysteine and selenium together are the things that we really want to make sure that we're supplementing with consistently to help us, again, elevate our levels of glutathione with our patch, right?
Yeah, so I would encourage people to do a review of their diet. Are they getting enough protein and healthy fats? And if not, supplement where necessary. We generally never talk about carbohydrates on LifeWave Connect because it's assumed that most people are getting plenty of carbohydrates, right? So the problem is, are we getting enough protein and healthy fats? And interestingly enough, carbohydrates are a non-essential macronutrient. Right? The human body can survive just on protein and healthy fat, but we're not going to survive without protein and fat. But so do a review of the diet. And if someone is a vegan, I strongly urge them to take an N-acetylcysteine or cysteine supplement. Vegans may be getting enough selenium. But again, if someone wanted to go the extra distance and say, I would like to protect against cancer, I'll take 50 micrograms or 200 micrograms per day if my doctor says it's okay. And selenomethionine happens to be a preferred form, and it's also very inexpensive.
Okay, I hope you guys took some good notes on that because there was a lot of gems just shared with you right there. So I know that some of us already know that glutathione has a very short lifespan in the body. Can you talk to us a little bit about how short it is? And with it being short, does consuming it in the way that you just talked about and other elements help us to really increase that production? And does it really make a big difference?
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story. This has to do with Suzanne Summers. And when Suzanne was first introduced to LifeWave, the subject of glutathione came up. And she said, I don't need your glutathione patch. I already go for a glutathione IV once a month. And I said, that is not going to work. I said, if you are detoxifying your body with a glutathione IV, that is totally fine. And glutathione IVs save people's lives. So I do not want to diminish their value at all. So if someone has toxic levels of heavy metals in their body, such as mercury, they should go immediately to their doctor and get regular IVs of glutathione to bring those mercury levels down. So glutathione IVs are invaluable. But in terms of an IV being used for anti-aging or longevity, the IVs don't work. And that's my opinion. And the reason is because glutathione has a half-life of 7 minutes. And when you get an IV, glutathione levels are back down over an hour after that. So their role as an antioxidant in protecting the body is gone. So this means that if we want to sustain elevated levels of glutathione, we have to look at supplementation or we have to look at technology like our patch. So let's go ahead and take a look at some studies that we've done here. And these were some early studies that we did on the use of our patch to elevate glutathione. I'm actually going to start with this one that was published by Hippocrates. And this was an internal study that we did, and we collected blood samples. We had them processed, sent out to a lab, and we wanted to find out. This is actually the second study that we did internally. And we saw that the glutathione patch had a dramatic effect on elevating glutathione. And depending on the individual, you could get a mild increase even after the first 24 hours, such as subject 1, or you could get a dramatic increase. Right here we go from levels of 2,000 to over 10,000. That's over a 5x increase in just 24 hours. We found in some of the early work that people were averaging over a 300% increase in glutathione in 24 hours. We contracted with Dr. Lisa Tully, who is a pharmacologist, to do a study and evaluate this in further detail. And her findings, and by the way, this is all, these studies are on our website. So if you go to the science section of our website, you can find these studies that I'm pulling up now. So this one by Dr. Lisa Tully gets into the details of the study, but I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom under the discussion because this is what's so interesting. The results here indicate that not only are we elevating glutathione, but the average measurements in this study were over 264%, but yet we had peak values over 454%. This was a small study, and so larger studies bear out higher average increases, but the results are going to vary depending on a person's diet and a person's age. So a vegan that doesn't supplement with cysteine is not going to do as well as a person that consumes dairy products or meat products. So that would be some of the variability. What's also worth noting is that not only did we measure blood levels of glutathione, but we also did studies to look at what effect does this have on the body. And we even did studies to look at what's the difference between wearing the patch 5 days a week versus 7 days a week. So this was a study that was done by Dr. Homer Nazarian and Dr. Sherry Blake Greenberg. Dr. Nazarian went into retirement, unfortunately. I loved doing studies with him. He was at the biomedical engineering department at the University of Texas in El Paso. But we found in this study, and I'll go down to the bottom here, that we saw to statistical significance and actually a highly significant effect, statistically speaking, in the physiologic functional status of organs in the body. So in other words, we found that when you use the glutathione patch, within 24 hours, glutathione levels are going up. And this, over a period of only 30 days, improves the health and function of most of the organs in the body. So, so these are really good indicators of that the patch is doing something that supplements won't. In other words, if we compare this to supplements, what we're going to find is that the supplements will elevate glutathione levels maybe 14% in 30 days. If you're taking a supplement twice a day, that would be maybe a 40% improvement. But if you're using our patch, glutathione levels are going up the first 24 hours by some very, very significant amounts.
Wow. I love when you share this information because, we already have talked about what is the benefit of having glutathione present in our body, why it's so incredibly important. And I'm still thinking, listening to you, that even with small increases in our levels of glutathione, that's going to benefit us. But with our patch, knowing that it's going to be a significant increase and prolonged as we continue to wear it, that's just so amazing. And I just don't think there's anything else like it. I mean, have you seen anything else like it, David, in what you've researched?
No. Uh, no. If you want to boost up glutathione levels rapidly, the alternative to our patch would be an IV. IV is going to get those levels up very, very rapidly. There's some liposomal glutathione products on the market, and they'll elevate glutathione levels maybe more rapidly than an oral supplement. But again, the problem is that glutathione is transitory, and because of its short half-life, those levels of glutathione will come back down a relatively short period of time after they're administered. So the benefit of the patch is that it's light therapy. And so just like going out in the sun, that'll elevate our levels of vitamin D. We stimulate the skin with low levels of light, and this regular stimulation over a period of 8-12 hours will keep the glutathione levels elevated. So supplements really can't compete with that.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. I love that. You know, you mentioned a word earlier when we were just getting started. Use the word or phrase health span. So I kind of want to dive into that. I know we're really focused here at LifeWave, you know, on reversing aging and improving the quality of life while we're alive. I think that's what you mean by health span. So how does glutathione impact our health span? And do you mind defining that word for us, or the period in life in which we're healthy?
Yeah, so our research today has changed very significantly compared to when I started LifeWave back in 2002. And back then, we were interested in quality of life, so improving energy, relieving pain. We then migrated to anti-aging and see, you know, what can we do to improve people's health as they age. And now, after developing our stem cell product, our focus is on age reversal. And I'm going to have, by the way, a surprise for people when we get to the August convention. I've made a decision that I'm going to show a new piece of technology that our members haven't seen before. And it is so cool. I have to tell you, it's going to be so difficult for me to keep my mouth shut between now and August. And I was talking to Lori Berger the other day, and I think we may even release a teaser video on the new tech prior to convention to get people excited about what we're going to show. Wow. So, but in any case, the whole goal that we have with this is to get people to stay as young as long as possible, and also reverse aging. You know, so how do we go about doing that? We go about doing that by restoring mitochondrial function, developing technology to transfer energy to the cell so we can increase the molecules that are responsible for energy production, like ATP, NAD, and then this will reset the genes to a more youthful state. Now, interestingly, glutathione is a rate-limiting molecule. So I was going through this the other day with one of the researchers that we work with, and we're looking at this problem. And if, I'll put it this way, is that if we are not keeping our glutathione levels elevated, we limit the amount of energy that the cell can make, and this limits our ability to reverse in age. Here would be like a scenario.
Can you say that one more time? I think that's pretty powerful. One more time.
I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to give a practical example.
Great.
Let's say that what we want to do is reverse human aging. One of the steps is to increase the amount of energy in the mitochondria, the place in the cell that makes energy. But the human body is really clever, and it will say, okay, I'm making this energy, but just like a car engine, when I make energy, I get these byproducts that come out the tailpipe, right? And this is waste matter, and we have to eliminate it. Well, as part of the natural process of making energy in the cell, we produce oxidative radicals. They're a normal part of cell metabolism. So the cell has what's called a negative feedback loop. So it will shut down energy production to protect the cell from the oxidative stress. And unless we're keeping our glutathione levels elevated, we can't manage the stress. So if we elevate the glutathione levels, the cells can continue to make energy. And with new technology, we can bump those energy levels higher than what they would be normally and reset the aging process and reverse the aging of the cell. But that only happens if antioxidants like glutathione and SOD are elevated. So glutathione is going to play, even though we came out with the patch back in 2008, it's going to be as relevant in the future as ever because of its role in longevity. So what happens here? Glutathione is going to protect virtually every cell in the body from stress. And in this case, we would be talking about inflammatory stress and oxidative stress. But there's also some interesting studies on this. Let me share this so we can talk about this. Actually, let's first define lifespan and health span, right? Because that was really where we started with this. When we talk about lifespan, that's really obvious, is how long are we going to live? And some people say, well, I'd love to live to be 100, but I don't want all the problems that come with that, right? And so this is a case where someone is missing what longevity is all about. We don't want people to live to be 100 and look like they're 100. That doesn't really accomplish anything. We want people to be able to live as long as they like, maybe 200, 300, 400, and look like they're 30 in the process. So you have all of the health and vitality you did when you were younger. And in fact, people will not reach those advanced ages without being young because of limitations in the cell. So in fact, the only way we reach escape velocity and exceed what would be the normal biological age limit of 120, right, that was established by God in the Old Testament after the flood, the only way we exceed that is by staying young in the process. It doesn't happen any other way. So for people that are on today in our community, they can put any fears aside that, when we're talking about living past 120, it will be because they have reversed their age and they've become more youthful, and that's what's allowing them to do this. So the lifespan is that part of the equation, how long we're going to live. But the health span is really about how long can we stay young and healthy. There's a really interesting example about this in nature, and I practice what's called biomimetics. So my belief as a Christian is that God created the universe, God created the earth, and that if we look to nature, that we can find solutions to all of our problems, whatever it might be. So nature has a number of examples of species that live an incredibly long period of time, but they don't age. And there's one example that's of particular importance. I'll tell people now that I just filed a new patent on this, and but it had to do with my research into the temnothorax ant. And what's of particular of interest is that temnothorax ant would normally age and die, but they get infected with a parasite, and the parasite causes changes in their gene expression that allow them to live 5 to 6 times longer than normal, right? So for a human being, that's 500 to 600 years old. And they stay young throughout the entire process until the very, very end of their lives. So that would mean to us is that if we could duplicate that process, and that was the subject of the patent, that we could live to over 500 years old, but maybe not until the last 10 or 20 years of our life would we start to age. So that's what when we're looking at glutathione, there are good clinical studies which are showing that it will extend health span. So how long we stay young. So now, Emily, I just, sorry, I didn't mean to shut you down here. But let's take a look at this just for a second. There are several studies that are interesting. I'm going to start with this one because this was a study that was done in the elderly. It goes back to 1994. And, keep in mind, there are tens of thousands of studies on glutathione. But this is one that was found an interesting outcome. And the researchers note here, to our knowledge, this is the first evidence of an association of higher glutathione levels with higher levels of physical health. So let's say that you have someone that's over the age of 60, and they're using our products like X39 and X49 because they want to recapture their youth. This is exciting because now this shows, hey, if I elevate glutathione, this is going to have a significant effect on the health throughout my body. All right, so that's important. Then we look at this study. One of the well-documented ways of extending human life is through calorie restriction. So I am not necessarily advocating this, but what I mean by that is if we understand these mechanisms, in other words, I'm not advocating that people stay in a state of chronic starvation, right? I would advocate people don't overeat, especially, junk food, unless on a cheat day or cheat meal, right? But what's interesting about this is that this defines the relationship between why a reduced intake of calories is linked to longer lifespan, and it's relatively simple. It means that when we are in the process of consuming a lot of food, it places metabolic stress on our body. This increases oxidative stress. And if we're not keeping our glutathione levels elevated, this results in reduced lifespan. So this means that there's several different paths to increasing lifespan and health span. Namely, if we keep our levels of glutathione and other antioxidants elevated, we can manage this oxidative stress and have a better quality of life. And by the way, consistently, it's shown that higher intake of carbohydrates, which would lead to higher blood sugar levels, is extraordinarily damaging to the body. And antioxidants like glutathione can reduce blood sugar and help to manage that process. And then finally, this was a study. Now, this is a study on yeast, right? It's not a study on human beings. But it's important to point out here that there was, in fact, a relationship shown between lifespan and levels of glutathione and also levels of glucose, blood sugar. And so the takeaway message for this, even though this is a yeast study, we would want to use diet, nutritional supplementation, and glutathione as a means to reduce blood sugar, keep antioxidant levels elevated, and give us a opportunity to improve the length of our life and our overall health and how long we stay healthy. So I think those are some of the takeaways. I know that's a lot. I'll shut up.
Please don't. Everyone's loving this. I can see in the comments, everyone's just eating this up. So if I'm hearing you correctly here, David, glutathione is really important for a lot of different reasons. But the piece that I really globbed onto myself was when we're using elevated levels of glutathione in our body through various methods. And we're using X39 and X49 to ensure that we have more stem cells in our bodies because it activates the production of that. And that also the stem cells we're producing are younger. It's the combination of those things that's going to help us to have a longer and healthier life. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, not surprising. This is probably a good opportunity to point this out, is that the X39 patch, interestingly, will elevate glutathione levels by about 30 to 40%. And this is part of the body's innate design and innate intelligence in that glutathione protects stem cell activity. SOD protects stem cells. So we see a mild increase in glutathione. I would call it mild, but it's actually consistent with supplements, 30 to 40%. The difference is that the glutathione patch is closer to 300%, and that makes it useful for detoxification. So this means our members have a number of options. If they're already using X39 and they're wondering, do I need the glutathione patch? My response would be, well, X39 is excellent at keeping glutathione levels elevated. But if you want to detox, let's say once a month, right? 1 week out of the month, you want to detox, then the glutathione patch is going to be more effective. And given the toxic environment that we live in today, that's probably a good idea. Another strategy, this is a strategy I use, is I'll use glutathione patches 1 or 2 days a week on the weekend, and that way it's detoxing on a regular basis.
Well, I loved hearing you talk about that. Like as you were sharing, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, so X39 with glutathione is kind of an amazing combination to really have us improve our overall lifespan, but health span. I really like that term that you shared with us because I think that really helps us understand it's not just being around for a long time, it's being vital and healthy and living an amazing life for a long time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We want, a goal that we have out of all of this research and the products that we have and the new products that are coming is we want to keep people as healthy as long as possible. And so when someone, because we have a business, we have over 250 employees, I would love to hire someone in their 60s, 70s, and 80s because they have a wealth of lifetime experience in their profession. And I'm sure, that person would want to stay active and continue to make a contribution. And, some people, they find themselves in the financial position where they have to continue working, and aging can work against them. So, yeah, this is really important because we give people the opportunity to make a choice. What do they want to do as they get 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond? And as long as they're staying young and healthy, it's up to them if they want to retire or they want to stay active in the workplace.
I love that. That is so exciting. I hope everyone caught that. That's so exciting. So, David, I know that we have a lot of new people that come on these calls every time we do them. And so I think it's really important that as we wrap up here talking about glutathione, that we give a little bit of direction on how to use the patches specifically. Because as you shared through the research that's been done, wearing these patches can elevate significantly higher than supplementation and can prolong that level. So can you talk to us a little bit about how best to use the patches potentially on average for most people, how many times a week, how many hours to wear, and what would you suggest as an ideal placement for?
Yeah, so if someone was using the glutathione patch, they have a few options. The standard protocols that we use are behind the neck, below the belly button. So someone could apply X39 behind the neck and the glutathione patch below the belly button as an example. Now, glutathione is interesting because it's one patch where you can benefit by applying it locally. X39 is a holistic patch. It works ubiquitously throughout the body, so the placement is not as critical. But glutathione is a little bit different. We found over the years that placing the glutathione patch at specific areas of concern can be extraordinarily beneficial. So let's use an example. So let's say that you had a man that had normal age-related inflammation of the prostate. What's very common is that the lower back becomes painful or there's some mild discomfort. What a man will find is that if he places the glutathione patch at the lower back, right along the spine, this would be below the belly button, and you could apply some pressure there and search for it. There'll be a point that'll be tender. Apply the glutathione patch there, and a person will notice that the discomfort will come down. And we're not going to make any medical claims. Let's say that you have an individual with a sore throat and there is discomfort. They can apply a glutathione patch right on their throat, or if they want a really intense effect, 3 glutathione patches, 1, 2, 3. So there would be there and then there. And they'll find just even within minutes that the sore throat diminishes in terms of its discomfort. So we won't make any medical claims, just talk about discomfort. And then let's say that someone had an infection. Let's say they got a cut and the cut became infected. First of all, again, I'm not a medical doctor. They should go for antibiotics if needed, or apply a topical antibiotic. But what they'll find is that they place 1 or more of the glutathione patches around the infection, that it will help to reduce discomfort that they have that's associated with the infection. So this is all to say that just for general use, applying the glutathione patch behind the neck or below the belly button is fine, but applying it locally as needed can offer additional benefits.
Awesome. How long of period of time would you suggest? And I've had questions in the past from members. Is it okay to wear the patch every single day? Should it only be a couple times a week? Or excuse me, every single day of the week? Talk to me a little bit about the usage over time.
Yeah, so this is going to depend on a person's diet, level of exercise, hydration. Are they a smoker? Are they a drinker? What type of lifestyle do they have? So it's going to depend on all of these factors. So antioxidants is something we need to take every day. So if someone is supplementing with antioxidants daily, that's hugely important. And then if someone were using the X39 patch, their need for our glutathione patch might not be as significant as someone, let's say, that's just getting started. So what this would mean is that, let's say that someone had, for many years, had a poor diet, maybe they were a smoker, maybe for a period of a few months, they might want to use the glutathione patch 5 to 7 days per week. Someone that's been relatively healthy, maybe they're using the glutathione patch twice a week if they're using X39. So yeah, I would also encourage people to get regular blood work at least twice a year and look at inflammatory panels, hormone levels, so they have a way to gauge how what they're doing is impacting their health.
Awesome. And, with all of our patches, we don't recommend wearing them longer than 12 hours, right? But I've also heard that some people, maybe to your example, someone maybe hasn't had the healthiest life or has had some health conditions that they've experienced. They may have a reaction when using the glutathione patches. Their body is trying to help get some of the yucky out and detox.
Right.
If someone's experiencing that, what would you recommend might be a great way to kind of ease into using the patch so they don't maybe have some discomfort like you're talking about?
Yeah, so this is the classic Herxheimer's reaction where someone detoxes rapidly and now they have a bad case of acne. They get fatigued, nauseous, headache, upset stomach, these kind of things. To avoid that, the first sign of a detox symptom, like one of those, they should remove the patch and drink lots of water. Another thing that's important is fiber. So if people are getting enough fiber in their diet, the fiber, glutathione is a chelating agent, so it attaches to something like mercury or another toxin, but then it's the fiber in the colon that will help to sweep that bound up toxin out of the body. So consuming fiber is important. Drinking lots of water to move the lymphatic system is important. Exercise to move the lymphatic system is important. So the more of these things that we do, regular exercise, lots of water, having a healthy diet, will help to diminish any kind of detox symptoms from the use of the patch.
I've also heard you say in the past, and other members, that maybe wearing it for less hours when we're wearing it can also be a helpful tool if you're experiencing some of these types of situations. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Let's say we'll use a case where someone is new to LifeWave. They're just getting started. They put the patch on and an hour later they feel sick. So what they could do, again, pending that a doctor says it's okay, what they could do is use the glutathione patch for that hour the first day, maybe an hour the second day, 2 hours the third day, and progressively increase the amount of time that they use it, focus on drinking more water, focus on a healthy diet, doing all the basics to help start getting their health going in the right direction. This is also probably an important point, and it's worth saying that people should not think of our products as cure-alls, that having a proper foundation of diet and exercise and sleep and water is going to be so critical, right? It's like, let's say you and I are health fanatics, right, Emily? You and I love to go to the gym, and you and I both know that if we go to the gym, we eat right, we exercise, and we get 3 hours of sleep, that we're not going to build any muscle or strength, right? And so you can just forget it. So those pillars of health are important. So if people are using our products to improve their health, that's fantastic because they'll get benefits they wouldn't normally. But if they're not going back and continuing to evaluate those pillars of health, they're not going to get the best results possible.
Absolutely. Well, we're pretty much out of time, David, and I know that you have some work you have to run to, but thank you so much for talking to us about glutathione and the health span. I love that idea. So thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for your time. So appreciate you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Emily. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this webinar with David today, and just wanted to remind everyone that we are currently experiencing a time where we have an amazing promotion that you can take advantage of that lets you receive glutathione for free. If preferred customers and distributors purchase $200 or more in a single order, you will automatically receive one free glutathione with that order. That promotion goes from January 29th through February 6th of 2022. So please take advantage of that while you can. And thank you all for being a part of the call today. We appreciate you showing up. We appreciate you being part of our community. And we appreciate you sharing this amazing information that we just received from David with your teams. And I hope that you are able to benefit from some of the things that David shared with us today. Really looking forward to seeing you guys again on our next LifeWave Connect. That'll be not this coming Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, and we'll be focused on business. So really looking forward to seeing you then. And also, just as a reminder, if you're interested in watching the replay of this webinar, we do play it both in the morning and in the evenings, as well as stream it live to our Business Builder group. And then we post in all of our associated supported languages on our YouTube channel, LifeWave Health, within 1 week of the original broadcast. So we'll look forward to seeing you all again soon. Have a great day. And thank you again for joining us and being a part of our LifeWave family. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.